Agut, Voch Rabbi Nishmas, Shabbos Parshas Korach, everybody, a good nerve Shabbos, good Voch. Thank you for coming. This is from Shulem Berkowitz. Shulem Berkowitz is no matter what. My brother-in-law is learning the Daf with rebellion. No matter what, he's a shining light for our entire family. His best shvuger, Zalmi Horowitz from London. Why should he be penalized? You see, we do give him a knas, even though it was against his will. Says the else, I believe the fights will be PS. No. The reason why we take him away is because you should have done something about it. You should have given him something else. You were happy about it. Very good. Here's another one. On Independence Day this year, an Arab thief stole mezuzahs from tens of apartments in downtown Yerushalayim during the celebrations that night. He was caught before he could resell them. The pictures from the police station, my son was able to get his back after Rosner identified because of his akpad on certain letters that he teaches his students. Look at this pile of mezuzahs that this thief stole. It's unbelievable. We're just learning about buying Sefer Torah to fill mezuzahs from a non-Jew. Michael Gross, I do not do Daf Yomi, but I do emails. I listen to the first 7 minutes of the shir and get so much chizuk from each and every email. He's not kidding. You are my kosher outlet, and I gain so much. Thank you for all that you do for Klal Yisrael. Keep it up. Michael Gross, Beis Hashem, is going to join our share soon. And then we have another one that's similar from Ari Chekinau. We read at least one email from him a month. Lakewood Rebelli, as I show up to the famous Ruach Day camp in Flatbush where I work in the summer, so many boys and fathers came over to me and asked me, "Are you Rabbi Chekinau from MDY? Your email reading spreads the family tree all over the world, and we get to know and recognize each other." Oh, that's one of the main reasons. We get to see and recognize different people from all over the world. Have a great summer. We're checking out since brachas Daf Beis together with my son. Baruch Tzvi, my son is turning 14 and is still up to date. Thank you for changing my whole life for better meaning and to truly feel the Harav no Ari checking out. The Koilo, going right into the Koilo, the sponsorship. The Koilo is sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood, who's here in Chicago. He's not here in Shir yet. Maybe he's not in Chicago yet. I heard he has a late flight. He'll be here, Beis Hashem, Shabbos. Anonymous from Lakewood. Sponsoring L'Refuas, my mother-in-law, Shlamis Esther Bas Bela. The Koil is sponsored by him every month, almost every month. Ilui Nishmas Zachari Ben Moshe. Ilui Nishmas Betzal Ben Moshe is the Koil, another sponsor. The Masechta, sponsored by Moshe Banda, to thank Hashem that I'm able to thank him for everything that I have. Parshas Chodesh, the Nishmas Chaya Bas Yosef, another Parshas Chodesh. That actually, he says here, is the last day. So we'll say, B'kavona Gemura, Nishmas Chaya Bas Yosef. Second Parshas Chodesh, Hashem should open up all the tzinorot bracha for Baruch Tzvi Nissim ben Shoshana Lea. Third Parshas Chodesh, Jeff Rosner. Ilui Nishmas, his 17-year-old son, Yosef Simcha Chaim ben Shlomo Yehuda. Oh, Shui. What was your brother's name? Very similar name, no?
Simcha.
Oh. There is a Simcha here, yeah. Yosef Simcha.
Right.
How old is he?
2 years. It's 19 years ago.
No, how old?
He was 16.
He was 16, yeah. The Lebovic family is Lakewood, New Jersey. That was 19 years ago? Wow. Lebovic family is Lakewood, New Jersey, because torah and achdus are the best segula. Parshas Shavua, Tzvi Corlin, in memory of Faiga Chaya, Yacov Chaim, who passed away, Shabbos Parshas Korach, and Parshas Shavua, Michael Benchetrit, commemoration of the week of the 10th yard side of Rabbi Yosef Oziel of the Miami community, who passed away on 3rd Tammuz at the young age of 42. Oziel was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, a global following. He was my inspiration to start and finish the last Daf Yomi cycle shortly after his passing in 2012. I continued to learn Daf Yomi in his memory. The art, it's the Shoshana Lea. The art of the month is sponsored with complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi Ben Lea. I don't know, Mark, I see that the screen is like flickering. I'm not sure exactly why. Rabbi Oziel, we're holding brand new sugya, Daf Amud Beis by a Mishnah. So we know that it's a big mitzvah if somebody gets divorced to remarry his ex. However, there are some situations where you're not supposed to remarry her. Now, of course, if a person's a kohen, he cannot remarry her. But even in Yisrael, it's a nice riddle. What are the situations? Hamoitzis ishtoi mishum shemra. Oh, if a person divorces his wife because he thought she was mizana, lo yachzer. Now, let's see if I can get there. Okay. What we're going to see here is there are two things. You guys don't see it on the screen. There are two reasons that could possibly be here. There's a reason called kilkul, damaging. A husband could damage his wife. In other words, he could say, I only divorced you because I thought that you were mizana. Today I found out that it's false. It's not true. So therefore, it's not a divorce. Therefore, the guy that you married and had children with, it's all a big problem. They're all mamzer. That's called kilkul. The other reason could be, and as we go through the Mishnah, we'll see who holds what through the sugya. The other reason could be it's a penalty. We don't want women to be mizalzel in znos and in nedarim. So we said, you know what? If a husband divorces because of one of these reasons, even if the reason is not there, the penalty still remains. So says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. Now, I don't want to forget this, so I'm just going to say it over here. There's the famous story with the Yacov Chaim, that the Yacov Chaim was called to court to testify on behalf of a bacher, and the attorney got up and he said, Your Honor, I want to tell you what the Yacov Chaim is. The story was where somebody broke into his house and started stealing things, and the Yacov Chaim saw this, and the Yacov Chaim said, you know what? I'm moichel you. I don't want there to be any problem with gneva. You can have it. So the judge told the attorney, you fall for these stories, you believe it? So he said, listen, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the point is, nobody says these stories about me and you. So this is the Yacov Chaim. They're able to say a story about it's a very famous line. They don't say the story about me and you. So there's something to it over here. If a person hears that his wife was mizana, they don't say it about the Rebbetzin in the town. It's usually somebody that it's possible with. So he's not allowed to take his wife back. And if there's some sort of vow, there's a neder also, you cannot take her back. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and this is important to remember for later on. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol neder shiyoda by rabbim, lo yachzer. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that if there's a neder, as we had earlier on, maybe a week, 2 ago, if there's a neder, the vow is taken in public, so now you need, in order to do the hafara, you need a public vow is very strong. And there's no hafara. In other words, you cannot go to the rabbi and say, hey, if I would have known this or that, there's no hafara. So therefore, if it's a neder that everybody knows about, lo yachzir. Shlo yoda by rabbim, yachzir. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that we just said there's 2 reasons that could go on here. He's with the reason of knas. So if it's a very strong neder, that's a good reason to give her a penalty. You did something that you shouldn't have done, a neder in public. What are you, crazy? In public? Oh, actually, there is a piece of art here. Just one piece of art, Erev Shabbos art. So here's a building, it's called the Nether House, and Lachluchas is on the 4th floor, screaming out with a microphone. Chainam, MDY Saxalai, she made a nether, and there's a ton of people, a lot of MDY characters. He put literally 2, 4, 6, 8, like 20 something characters on the bottom of the street here. You know what? What are you going to see? You're not going to be able to see anything. Okay, here. You saw it? No, you can't see it. Stop being nice, you're laughing. Okay. Go back, let's see if that worked. Oh, it works. Shalom to 24 people on Zoom. Not bad. Zog the Gemara, or YouTube, I don't know where they are. Something. So again, if it's a powerful neder, it's one of these nedarim that I'm going to give her a knas. If it's not so powerful, I don't have to give her a penalty. So just to remember, because we're going to get back to this later on, what does Rabbi Yehuda holds? It's a penalty. He doesn't hold that the reason why a person cannot remarry this woman is because of kilkul, because we're concerned that he's going to ruin something. Over here, he just said the reason is a penalty. That's why there's a difference between a neder of Rabbim and a neder of Lei Rabbim. Okay, so just remember that. The Gemara later on is going to say, no, we have to reverse his shita. He doesn't hold of knas, he holds kilkul. Meir Omer, another shita. If you need a chacham to go and to figure out what's going on, interrogate the subject, that's the type of neder that you don't take back. So Remeir is of the opinion of kilkul, and there's no kilkul when he himself could do a hafara, when he could do a hafara by himself. So we have a machlokes already between Remeir and Yehuda whether it's kilkul or knas. So he says, look, son, if you could annul the neder on your own, then you can take her back. Because there's no concern of kilkul. What are you going to do? You're going to say, well, she did this if I would have known, but you could have taken care of it yourself. Zeh means a neder that needs a chacham, a bezdin. So Rabbi Elazar is saying that they didn't answer the one that needs a bezdin. There's no kilkul. Why? Because Rabbi Elazar, we're going to see in the Gemara, there's another svara here. There's a logic that a person doesn't want to bring his wife to bezdin. A normal married person, a guy has a decent relationship with his wife, doesn't want to schlep his wife to bezdin. It's very embarrassing for her. It's uncomfortable. He doesn't want to do that. So he can never say later on, he can't use this as an excuse. Oh, had I known I could have gone to bezdin, I would have annulled her neder. No, he doesn't want to go to bezdin. He'll never take his wife to bezdin. So it's not a good excuse. So the only reason why we said that this kind of neder, you can't take her back, is because of a neder that you don't have to go to bezdin. It's one because of the other. But in fact, the bezdin part doesn't make it a neder. Just bezdin alone would not be a neder you can't take her back. The only reason you can't take her back is because of a regular neder you don't have to go to bezdin. Now this seems to come out of nowhere, out of left field. There's a story in Tzidon. Man made the neder. He said the koinam is a lashon of hegdish. I'm making something hegdish. The Gemara will explain. If I don't divorce you, I have to divorce you. If I don't divorce you, it's hegdish. The gersha, and he divorced her. Chacham said you could return her, because really the whole mission is about a husband making a kilkul. He's going to ruin. Had I known this over here, the husband himself is the bad guy. He's the one that made the neder, so to speak. The Gemara is going to say what this is talking about. So there's a little bit of a confusion here in the Mishnah. Is Mepnei Tikkun Olam going on what we just said? Is Mepnei Tikkun Olam going on the beginning of the Mishnah? We'll see the Gemara. This thing that we said, that if a person divorces his wife because she's mizana, he cannot return her. You can't do Maaser Gushasa, you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah. It's when he specifically says, the reason why I'm divorcing you is because I heard rumors about you. Top of Memvav Amud Aleph, it's because I heard a rumor that you made a vow, you made a neder. Says the Gemara, Kosovar, Taima Mai Mishum Kilkulo. The reason is because a person will say, I thought that you were mizana. I found out there's no znus at all. Had I known that, I wouldn't have divorced you. And you married somebody based on this divorce, so it's like a mekach tos on the divorce. It wasn't a real divorce. Now you have children, the mom's here. Another famous Maaser, where a guy got into a fight with the rabbi of the shul. And he tells the rabbi, listen, if you don't back down, I'm gonna publicize the fact that your daughter is dating a guy. So he's like, I don't have a daughter. I'm not even worried. He goes, listen, first I'm gonna publicize it. There's gonna be your problem to prove to everybody you don't have a daughter. The point is, when there's dirt out there, now it's your problem to explain to people that there's no dirt. Over here, he heard that his wife was mizana. So he divorced. Now he heard it. She's not okay. So now he has a big problem on his head. Says the Gemara, the Gemara, yeah. It's only because he says specifically, I'm divorcing you because of the rumors. But if he doesn't say so, then he cannot ruin it for her. So this is the svara boisai of kilkul, of ruining her life, of saying that I wouldn't have divorced you had I known XYZ. Ikadari, the second pshat, which we mentioned in the Mishnah, the same, and the Omar. He has to tell her, but really, he doesn't have to tell her. The Gemara is saying, the reason is we want to publicize to the world, to all the women of Klal Yisrael, that look, if there's a rumor about you that you're mizana, or if you make these vows, these nedarim, you're going to get divorced, and your husband won't be able to marry you back. So tzarech l'meimarle is not literally, you have to say it. The point is that it has to be known. So it's very different than the first pshat. The first pshat is this kilkul. You want the husband to know that if he divorces his wife because of this, he'll never be able to remarry her. So he has to specify with his mouth. Over here it's something else. Over here it's a knas, it's a penalty. We don't want women to be paruts, to deal with arayis, to deal with the dark. So we warn them. Now it has nothing to do with him saying it or not saying it. You hear? So even if he doesn't say it, he still cannot remarry her because it's a knas. There's nothing to do with him saying. Whereas the first pshat, that's a kilkul, he must say it in order to be sure that he's not going to be mekalkal. Very easy stuff. Now we're going to fly through 15 lines of easy stuff. We have an exact brisa like each one of these pshatim. Why do we say that if a person divorces his wife because he heard bad rumors about her, he can't return her? And if she made a neder and he says, I'm divorcing because he made a neder, he cannot return her. The concern is kilkul, because she might marry another man, then he'll find out that somebody made up a terrible story. It's actually a very sad story. You have a Rosh Barusha who wants to destroy somebody's marriage. He says, listen, I saw your wife being mizana. The husband completely believed him, and he divorces his wife. The wife goes ahead, marries somebody else, and has a bunch of children. Then they find out that this guy that said the story, he made up that story about 25 other people in the community. He's a bad guy. It happens. And now the original husband has a lot of tsar and charata. He says, my wife was a tzaddikas. She never did anything. She's not guilty at all. Zero. And this rush is the cause. Too bad. We don't want somebody to talk like that, because once he goes around the street saying these things, then her second marriage becomes questionable, and her children from the second marriage are questionable. If I'm there, you're going to start talking. Had I known that she's a tzaddikas, she's not guilty at all, you give me 100 mana, I wouldn't divorce her. They didn't get bottle. When I was there, and people are going to try to talk about this get that is bottle, and her children are there. So they say, listen. So I don't remember who screamed out here that if a person, maybe you over there, that if a person divorces his wife because she was mizana, you're right, you can't return her. But over here we have another case where a person divorces his wife because he thought she was mizana. It's exeris chacham, he can never return her. You want to be sure. Why? Because of the rumors that are going to happen later on if you're able to return her. So like this, he just gives up. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't say anything. Okay, so that's exactly like the first pshat in the Gemara, kilkul. We're concerned he's going to ruin the person's marriage, second marriage. What's the second lashon? It's not kilkul, it's a penalty. Why did he say that if a person divorces his wife? Because of bad rumors, he's not allowed to return her. Because of a neder, because we don't want the Jewish girls to be paruts in arayis and nedarim. You have to tell her. You don't say to him, to her. I am divorcing you because of the bad rumors. And that's why other girls will hear this and they'll be fearful to be mizana and to make nedarim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer called neder she'yodu by Rabbim lo yazim she'yodu by Rabbim yazim. Rabbi Yehuda holds l'chayr. Seems like from the Mishnah that he holds that the problem is the second problem, the second svara. The idea is it's a penalty, it's a knas. We don't want girls to be loose with nedarim and znos. So therefore, if it's a neder that people know about, you're not allowed to return her because they're being loose with nedarim. They're getting up in a building and screaming on a microphone. The whole world hears about it. You have to give her a penalty. But if the rabbim don't know about it, you're allowed to return her. My time of the Yehuda. So this is in Yeshua, in the beginning of Yeshua, the famous story. The Gevinim were big Chavramanim. They saw what Klal Yisrael was doing. They were destroying. First they destroyed Yericha, and then this, that. They're just walking right through everybody and destroying all the 7 nations that are in Israel. The Gevinim didn't want to have anything to do with the war, so they dressed up as if they came from a very far place and told Yeshua and the Klal Yisrael, they said, they told the Skenim, we're from a faraway place and we heard about the Nissim and everything. So Klal Yisrael swore to them that they're not going to kill them. Later on, when Klal Yisrael found out that they're lying, it was already too late. Rabban say there's no shvua. Why? Since the Gevanim lied, then there's no shvua at all. So then, why didn't Klal Yisrael destroy the Gevanim? Because of a chilul Hashem. Hashem. We didn't want the non-Jews, the people that saw it. Look, Klal Yisrael swore to the Gevanim, and then they went ahead and killed them. They broke their shvua. It's a chilul Hashem to the people that are seeing it. Now they don't know that they lied and there's not a real shvua, etc. Okay. Become a rabbin. What consists rabbin? You scream it in front of the rabbin. How many rabbin? Yoshi put 25 people there. Is it 25? How many is it? All you need is in front of 3 people, that's rabbin. Oh, which reminds me, Taka, I was just thinking now. Rishus HaRabbim. How much is Rishus HaRabbim when it comes to Tumah? 3. Also 3. Rabbi Yitzchak Maaser, but we don't have a sheet of 10 by Rishus HaRabbim and Tumah. Rabbi Nachman Omer Shloisha. Why Shloisha? So for this, I just want to show you real quickly. You don't really need to see this. Oh, here's Hafara. I missed this one. Hatara, I mean. Okay. It's always good. I'll show you. I'll try to turn this around. Is this guy? So there's an 18-day cycle. The first 7 days Midarais is Nida, and the 11 days after that is called Ziva. If a woman sees 3 days down in the 11 days of Ziva, she becomes a Zava G'dayla. Just throwing this out there, it's not important really for our sugya. But how do we know that it's 3 days? Maybe it's 2 days, 1 day, 10 days. Because it says in the Pasuk, as we saw a second ago, Yamim Rabbim. Yamim we know is plural, is 2 days. And the fact that the Torah says Rabbim, it adds 1 more day, so you have a total of 3. So now we know Rabbim means 3 in the entire Torah, not just by a Zava. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yitzchak Asara, the Sev Eda, by the Meraglim, there was 10 Meraglim. There was 12 Meraglim, but 2 of them, Kalev and Yeshua, were not part of them. So it's actually 10. So Eda means 10. Again, so if a woman announces her neder in front of 3 people or 10 people, that's one of these nedarim that if the husband divorces her because of it, he cannot take her back. Rameir says in the Mishnah that any neder that you need a chakiras chacham, you need the chacham to look into it. That's the type of neder that you cannot take her back. Tanya Rebbe Lezer Omer Lo Yasru Tzarich Elav Nishen Tzarich. So then The Rebbe Lazar in the Mishnah says the only reason why they said that in a case where you need a chacham, you cannot return your wife is because of the case where you don't need a chacham. And we kind of explained it in the Mishnah, but it's very good to do chazara. It doesn't mean literally. Today they have like people prank their wives. I don't know. They make her fall. Like she sits down in a restaurant, they pull the chair out and she falls, and they take a video from the side, and then they throw it up on YouTube, and it's gewaldig. It gets 1 million views. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a person who wants to be invite his wife, but he doesn't mind if he need be, he could bring his wife to Bezdin. He doesn't have such a problem bringing his wife to Bezdin. He's not so mad. Wait, my wife Nebuch is going to go to Bezdin. I can go to Bezdin. She can also go to Bezdin. So Blaza holds that it's never an excuse. If a person says, hey, had I known I could have gone to Bezdin, I would have gone to Bezdin. You wouldn't have gone to Bezdin. Don't lie. You're not the type of guy that takes your wife to Bezdin. So it's not a good excuse. Ramesh says it is a good excuse. So then the Mishnah says, there's a story in Tzidon where a guy made a koinam. He said, it's like hegdish. If I don't divorce you, and he divorced her, and Chacham said he could return her. What's going on? My Tani Maisa. What is the story going on? You need some background before you say a story. You can't just throw out a story. Sometimes I just throw out a story. Me, personally, because I'm not the Gemara. Like, sometimes the story has no shaykhs to anything. And by the time the story's over, they're like, why do you say it? For no reason. Okay, Givaldi. Next. But you need some context. It says Gemara Chasur Mechsur. You're missing a few words here. In other words, it's not missing. When they read the Mishnah, the time of the Gemara, in the time of the Mishnayos, when the kids used to read Mishnayos, it was simple to them that this is what's going on. This is what it means to say. The beginning of the Mishnah is talking about it when a woman makes a nether, and you can't return her, you could return her, whatever. But if the husband is the one that makes a nether, Yachzir. And on that, there was a story in Tzidon. He swore, he made a shvua, it's like hegdish if I don't divorce you. The Girsha, and he divorced her to fulfill his nether. And Chacham said, you can take her back because of Tikkun Ha'olam. Now, involved Amud Beis, sponsored by Mordechai Sepaznik, in my honor, and by the Tehillim group. Tehillim, that 8-min daf. No. Tehillim, that. MDY.com. That's it? Okay. Omer Avuna. I pretend I don't know so that we could say it longer and then, people get it. They stick to it. Omer Avuna, if I would say fast, nobody would care. But every time they're going to try to correct me and then eventually they go online, they'll say some Tehillim. Omer Avuna, Ba'omer, Ya'asru kol perish ba'olam alai im eni megarshich. My koinam, what does it mean koinam? Because at the end of the day, koinam means like a carbon, like hegdish. It's going off? It's dead? This better be working then, because that's our backup. I could also put this camera on. Nah, fine. Let's just hope for the best. That guy, the camera guy, he's probably loving it. It's like, I hope it goes down. I hope they don't have a backup. They're going to have to hire me again. Okay. So the question is, my koinam. How does the word hegdish fit in here? It says, he made all the fruit of the world like hegdish. In other words, I cannot eat anything. If I don't divorce you, that's what the word koinam means. It says, so if a guy makes a nether, he says, I'm going to divorce my wife, and if I don't divorce my wife, I won't eat any fruit, and he divorces her. He has a mitzvah to return her and get married to her. Shita, well, why not? There's no kilkul here. There's nothing. Nobody's going to have mamzerim here. There's nobody that you need to warn not to make nadarim. There's no women here that are acting loosely. Says Gemara, Mao the same Eligzim Shum the Rav Nasan. There's another svara. Why? The Sayer Rav Nasan Oimer Hanoider Kilu Banabama. Let's see what we have here. Show you. This is one of my favorite pictures that Yoshi ever drew. It's a fancy house like in Muncie with a tennis court, two Hasidim playing tennis, and the guy built a little bum in the backyard, Probably says Tesla on it, whatever. Now, Obama is, you could think that it's a nice thing. It's something special. Look, he wants to be close to Rebbeinu Shalom. He built a Mizbeach. He actually brings a carbon on the Mizbeach. He's a Gevaldige guy. Hanoi der kilu ban Obama. V'amekaimoi kilu hikr v'lea carbon. And the next step is, not only did he build a Bama, but the next picture, you don't need to see it, but he brought a carbon onto the Mizbeach, onto the Bama in his backyard. Kamash Malon. In other words, you would think that he made a neder. He should keep his neder. Sometimes what you think is good, building the Bama, you think is a good thing, it's a terrible thing. And you think that he made a neder, he swore, he made a vow, he's going to do something, he should keep his vow. No, not always is a good thing. What you think is good is not always good, sometimes it's bad. And sometimes what's bad is actually what you think is bad, sometimes is good. I saw a beautiful Zohar, it gave me a lot of chizuk. It's like a very powerful Zohar. He says two examples. He says there's a person who's a listim. He's a highway robber. Does it get any worse than a highway robber? He's a terrible guy. His whole life, his whole livelihood comes from inflicting pain on other people. As they pass by in the forest, in the desert, he jumps them, holds them up at gunpoint. He's part of this group, a non-Jewish group. He's a bad guy. Is there anything that you could think of that he could be possibly a good person? Says the Zohar, yes. Whenever a Jewish family goes through and the highway robbers jump on the Jewish family, he says, stop, not these guys. This is my family, let them go. And the Rebbeinu Shalom has more nachas from that Maisa than that of a tzaddik. And says the Zohar, and here's the kicker. This one I connected to a lot. He says that there was a guy, a really bad guy, did terrible things to women. And one time he grabbed a woman forcefully. He's about to do his thing. And she looked at him and she said, don't do what you want to do in honor of the Rebbeinu Shalom. He stopped, he thought, and he says, okay. He says, the Zohar, that guy, his pu'ula, he says, that's his lashon, his pu'ula was greater than that of a tzaddik. So all of us, when you're right there about to say the lashon hara, right there about, literally they're about to be over naveira. So a lot of people stop. But if you stop and you say, I'm doing this for you, Hashem, that's greater than any mice of a tzaddik, he says. You could be a Rasha. This guy is mamsh, a terrible guy. How many women he ruined their lives. But this one time, he controlled himself, and he said during that control, he said, I'm doing it for Hashem. It's a level shein kemayim. Saying within what you think is bad, this Rasha Marusha is the highest of the high. And forget what you think is great, something is terrible. You think, I'm going to be Mekayim Neder, I'm going to divorce my wife because I said I'm going to divorce her. It's a bad thing. So you have to know, not everything that you see is. Now also, when I mention Bama, I love always posing this question to the Olam. We always get great answers. What would you do if you found out that you're not even Jewish? And it happened to Rabbi Grieman from our shir in Ramat Bet Shemesh. He's an Or Sameach, and they came to his chavrus and said, by the way, we found out you're not even a Jew. Your mother's not Jewish, da-da-da. The guy got up and left Or Sameach and never came back. What would you do? So Rabbi Shimshon Pinkus always says that he would build a bama and bring a carbon on the bama because a guy could, and then he would become Jewish. So each one should think about. So I always say as a joke, my thing is, if I was a guy, if I found out I was a guy, I would learn one Shemon Esrei during Chazon Shat, and then I would become Jewish. Because that is my type. That's where I'm at. Because I need to prepare the shir and I need this. And for me to control myself, not to open up a sefer, I have every excuse in the world. And that guy does it, that guy does it. And the Rabbanim do it, and the Rabbanim said it's okay. But the Mishabur says you shouldn't. So that's my big, not that I'm a big tzaddik, I don't have other, it's a shtick, okay, fine. Okay, Stefansky is such a tzaddik, he doesn't have other, he just wants to learn torah. Yeah. It's a joke, Rabbi Isaac. Calm down. Okay. So the Gemara. Mipnei Tikkun Olam. So all the way at the end of the Mishnah, maybe I will show this here. Unfortunately, I can't show. Well, I'll show you guys here. Not that it'll help you because you could actually just look in your Mishnah and see the same thing. The beginning of the Mishnah starts off, a person divorces his wife because he heard bad rumors about her, that she was mizana. It says Liachzer. All the way at the end of the Mishnah, it says, Omer, Rabbi Yehuda. I just put in parentheses because that was the only way we could fit onto this page. There's a story where a person made a neder that he's going to divorce his wife, and he divorced her, and the Chacham said he can return her. And the last 3 words of the Mishnah are Mipnei Tikkun Olam. So the big question is, are those 3 last words on what we just said, the story in Tzidon where the guy divorced his wife, Mipnei Tikkun Olam? It doesn't really fit in. How are you helping the world by allowing this individual to remarry his wife when he swore he's going to divorce her? How does that help the world? It can help the world in the beginning of the Mishnah, when we're talking about a woman who has a rumor about her that she's mizana and the husband divorced her. That's Tikkun Olam, because if he's allowed to remarry her, then he might come back years later and say, had I known, I wouldn't have divorced you. So to help the world, there shouldn't be any mamzerim. So those words fit in for the Reish, not so much the Sefer. Says the Gemara, my Tikkun Olam makeup. There is no Tikkun Olam when I allow the man who made a vow to remarry his wife. You're right. There is no Tikkun Olam. In that case, it's going on the first part of the Mishnah. No, it's going on the last part of the Mishnah. Tikkun Olam means there's a void of Tikkun. There is no Tikkun Olam. Not there is, there isn't. Okay, it's a little bit of a tchak, but that's how he learns the pshat.
Because you don't have to say it.
You
don't have to say it.
Yes and no, because the beginning of the Mishnah is talking about Tikkun Olam. The whole Mishnah is talking about Tikkun Olam. The whole Masech is talking. The whole parak is talking about Tikkun Olam. It just keeps on going. The whole Tikkun Olam. So it's right in there. So Mela, you should know this is not. Says the Heilige Mishnah, sponsored by Eli Friedman, Ilui Nishmas. Let me see if I can find the Mishnah that we last had of him. Something's wrong here. I don't know why. I don't have it. Oh, here. By Eli Friedman, Ilui Nishmas, his dear father, Chaim Avram Shalom Yeruchim ben Yisrael David Olav Shalom. Okay. Zok the Mishnah. Hamoitzi Sishtoi Mishum Eilanis. If again, here you can see the picture of Yoshi drew of an islandess. Islandess is an isle. It's a lotion of an isle. It's a male ram who obviously cannot be pregnant and give birth. So it's a lotion of an island. So you have a woman who was born with certain simonim that she can never have children. So this is a pretty sad story also. Another sad story. A person decides, without going to the doctor, let's say, he decides his wife is an islandess. He learned once in yeshiva, she has a high-pitched voice, this, that, I don't know what. She's an islandess. Then he decides he wants to remarry her. He's not allowed to. So Rashi just goes in to say, do you need a get? Not a need. You need a get. She's an islandess. But a person does not make his bia just nus. So therefore, he had good intent, and therefore he needs a divorce. It's not like a mekach tos kind of thing. Yet, at the same time, she doesn't get a ksuba. There's no ksuba, you hear? Even though I know that has to be lost, there's no ksuba. Nises la'acher. This is crazy. She goes ahead, she marries another man. She picks up the phone. Ruven, you remember divorced me because I'm an islandess? Guess what? Mazel tov. I just had twins. The guy's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm not an islandess. I'm not an islandess. I just give birth. What do you mean? You thought I was an islandess. I told you I'm not an islandess. You're an idiot. He says, well, you're not an islandess. I wouldn't have divorced you. So now that you got married to somebody else, it's a mekach tos. Your twins are mamzerim because I never divorced you.
If she married somebody else, she couldn't get married. He couldn't remarry her. She had to have the children before.
Right. Yeah, of course. No, once she gets married, it's at the end of the story. But vihi toivask subasa. She's saying, you divorced me as an islandess, and you refused to give me a ksuba because an islandist doesn't get a ksuba. It was a megachtos. Guess what? You divorced me by mistake. I deserve a ksuba. I want my ksuba. Omer Rabbi Yehuda, Omer La, you can tell her, you better be quiet. Sometimes it's better to be quiet than to make a fuss. Because if you're going to make a fuss and claim that you deserve a ksuba, so what you're saying is that the divorce was a mistake. The whole thing was a mistake. And you deserve it. So if it's a mistake, then your children are mamzerim. That's what you want. I'll give you the $5,000, but your children are going to go around the whole day in school, and everybody's going to call them mamzerim. There was a cop who once pulled over a couple. And he said, "You're not going to believe this. We're doing a special thing that we're tracking very good drivers, and you are a perfect driver, and we want to award you with $1,000 for driving so beautifully." "Oh, thank you very much. So can I ask you, what are you going to do with the $1,000? "Oh, very simple. You know what I'm going to do with the $1,000? I'm going to get my license. I've been working on my license. I'm going to get a license." So the wife goes, she goes, "Johnny, you idiot. I told you, every time you get drunk, you start talking stupidity. Why do you have to open your mouth? Don't drink." She says, "I'm not drunk. I'm just high on drugs. I'm not high." So she says, that's the problem. When we steal a car, it's so dangerous. We get into the thing. She says, we didn't steal the car. Just because at the end of the day, we murdered the guy, and the guy doesn't have anybody to inherit him, so we took the car. It's not stealing the car. V'chulu v'chulu. The point is that sometimes it's better to be quiet. You don't say something. If you talk, Abraham Lincoln said, what's the lashon he said? Better remain silent and be thought of as a fool than talk and people will know you're a fool. Something like that. Okay, whatever the lashon is. Huh? Right. In lashon kodesh it's a lot better. Better remain silent and be thought as a fool than speak and all doubt will be removed. Like 10 words. Okay, the whole thing. He stole from Gemara, and it's only 3 words in Gemara. Right. Okay. You see that in that same thing alone, it's shtika to say it beautifully, like the Chazon Ish, and the Kitzer is a lot nicer. Okay. Zog the Gemara. L'meimer the review the chayish l'kikula, v'rabanon loy chayish l'kikula. What's going on here? When we have an islandess, let's go back to the Mishnah before. Remember, the Mishnah before, I told you to remember that Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion knas. Because when he was talking about a neder, he said, if it's a big neder, then you need a chacham, then you don't return. But if not, no. So the idea was knas, not kilkul. All of a sudden, this Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that if you divorce your wife because she was an islandess, you can have children, then you can't return her. Why? It seems like the reason is kilkul. Because if you can return her, then later on he'll say, "Oh, had I known that you could have children, I wouldn't have divorced you." So the problem is kilkul, not knas. What?
Why can't it be knas?
No, there's no knas by a islandess. In the first mission, we're talking about that she did something wrong. There's a rumor about her that she's mizana. There's a rumor about her that she made neder. So in neder and znos, there's a knas. Over here, she didn't do anything wrong. She was born a certain way, and he divorced her. There's no penalty for that. The only problem is kilkul, and that's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says kilkul. In the first mission, he says knas. Says Gemara ve'ipchesh amin alu. But we learned in the Mishnah the exact opposite. The Mishnah before. Lo yachzim shum neder lo yachzim. Rabbi Yehuda oimer kol neder sheyod the boy rabim lo yachzim shelo yod the boy rabim yachzim. Alma. Rabbanon chayshel kilkula. Rabbi Yehuda lo chayshel kilkula. So this is also very important to remember. We have not only Rabbi Yehuda, but we also have Rabbanon. And we have a problem with Rabbanon, we have a problem with Rabbi Yehuda. Omar Shmuel, Epoch. What are we going to switch? We're going to switch that Mishnah over there. And we're going to say that it's not, Rabbi Yehuda is not the one that says kilkul, it's Chacham that say kilkul. Knas, it's Chacham that say knas. Ask him more about Miktani Seif and Isis Lacher Vahayula Bonim Menu. Vitavas Suaso. Omer Mido Omer Loshtikus Yafim Diburech. In our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says, you better be quiet, because if you make a big fuss over here and you say you deserve a ksuba, then people will start saying, your husband, your original husband, will say that he wouldn't have divorced you had he known that you're able to bear children. But still, how can you say in that Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda, over here we see that Rabbi Yehuda holds kilkul. Says Gemara, Hanami. So you have to flip our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, he says, in our Mishnah, it's not Rabbi Yehuda that said it, it's Chacham that said it. No, at the end of the day, don't flip anything, don't flip shitas. Rabbi Yehuda is concerned about kilkul. Just when it comes to neder, it's different. How come by neder he didn't say kilkul, he said knas? Because neder is different. Why? Rabbi Yehuda Bahi Sover Meir, Rabbi Lazar. When it comes to neder, he holds like Rabbi Lazar and Meir. That what? Bitzarech, when you need to come on to a chacham to annul the neder, Sover Rabbi Lazar. That what? Rabbi Lazar is of the opinion a person will never schlep his wife to Bezdin. So if you need a chacham, he's not going to schlep her to Bezdin. So if he's not going to schlep her to Bezdin, we're not concerned that he might use that as an excuse later on. Oh, had I known, I would have gone to Bezdin. You wouldn't have gone to Bezdin. Nobody goes to Bezdin with their wife. But if you don't need a chacham, so you're a mayor. Hold on. Oh, so when you don't need a chacham, you also get Remeir. Remeir is of the opinion that everybody knows this idea. You can't come later on and say, "Oh, had I known that I could annul the net," everybody knows that you could annul your wife's neder. That's not the shayla. Amarava, the Yehuda, the Rebbe Kasha, the Rabbanan, the Rabbanan Kasha. You just asked me. You just answered how there's not a contradiction between the two Rabbi Yehudas. But you're forgetting that on the flip side, you always have a Rabbanan. Rabbanan argue with Chachamim in the Mishnah. With the Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim argue. So there's a contradiction on the Chachamim also. If there's a contradiction on Rabbi Yehuda, there's a contradiction on Chachamim. Ela Amarava, the Rabbi Yehuda, the Rabbi Eli Kasha, we just answered the Rabbi Yehuda holds like your blazon and Remeir. The Rabbanan, the Rabbi Kasha, Ma Chachamim, Remeir. Rabbi said, we're almost finished for today. Who are, we're not doing so bad with time. Man Chacham Remeir. Chachamim happen to be Remeir, right? Stop. Mishnah Remeir. Chachamim are Remeir. The Omar be not Naikaf. Chachamim Remeir hold that you need a double tnight. In other words, just like the Tnai B'nai Gad B'nai Reuven, the famous Tnai B'nai Gad B'nai Reuven, B'nai Gad B'nai Reuven didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael. They wanted to remain where there was a nice pasture for the cattle, for the sheep. So Moshe Banda made a deal with them. He said, if you come into Eretz Yisrael, you fight the enemy, then you could go back and get it. And he said, but if you don't, then you don't get it. So he repeated the Tnai, which, by the way, it's a taiva. Everybody knows this, but it's kedai to speak it out. Sometimes you get somebody to do work in your house or whatever it is, and you make up a deal. It's always kedai to write out a document and specify exactly, because there's always issues later on. He said this, you said that, you promised me that. There's no promising, there's no talk. Everything has to be written out very, very clear. Basically, a tnai kafel. Like, say it, and even more, not just spell it out, and if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. So, over here by the islanders, he should have doubled his lashon. The reason why it's not a problem is because he didn't double his lashon. He said, you should know that the reason why I'm divorcing you is because you're an islandess. And if you're not an islandess, then I wouldn't do it. He didn't say that. Have a wonderful day, a good Shabbos. Motzi Shabbos, what time is Motzi Shabbos? Like 2 hours after Shabbos. 11:15? 11:15. I don't expect anybody to be there, but if you're there, it'll be beautiful. A good Shabbos, a good Voch. In Eretz Yisrael, have a wonderful week.